Yo, hello everyone. How you doing today? What's going on, people? Good to see you again. Back indoors, where I can see, where my eyes work. That's good. That is good. But yes, how we doing, guys? How we doing today? A few good things, a few significant things to talk about at the moment, I think. So, yes. Hello. You thought I traveled already? No, that's why I did the test stream. I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready to travel. I'm getting ready. So we'll be seeing a few of those. We'll be seeing a few from the hotel room, all of that. So that'll be fun. I've got to figure out my audio on those. I think I'll actually use that same microphone on my, because I'm not going to bring a big microphone around. I can plug that same thing into my computer when I do the audio from the hotel, actually, and then the mic will be a lot better. Thank you, Stuart, for the 5 gifted memberships. Appreciate you very much, my friend. Thank you. It's Chicago, not Chicago. The fuck? No, thank you. But yeah. But how we doing, everyone? How are we doing? I hope you're well today. I hope you were well on this fine Tuesday. I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. I'm actually like, I'm super excited for this tour. I'm super excited to get out there and do something new. Last couple summers, I've only been able to do like the day, like I've been flying in and out, and then not able to do like the training and the press conference and stick around and do other shit. I'm quite excited about this one. I really am. It's gonna be a good time. So very excited for the tour and for United to be back. For United to be back, I think that is a big thing. Excited to see United play a couple of games. Hopefully we do. We keep getting better and better and better. So, what do we want to talk about today? I don't have like an outline, but the few things that I do want to talk about are Jackson. Sorry, we're talking about Nicholas Jackson yet again because there was a significant story. No, Glenn, we don't get to choose who gets the gifted memberships. It is random. We're going to talk about Jackson and strikers, okay? Because I think some really interesting stuff in terms of what came out overnight from The Athletic, but also from Fabrizio today, which we've been expecting. It was the 12th on that Saturday stream. I said Chelsea are gonna bring this Garnacho offer, this Jackson Garnacho offer to us. They're going to. It's coming. Be prepared. Be prepared. And so, yeah, I hope you were prepared. I hope you were prepared for the Nicholas Jackson show. Yeah, we haven't had a good moonwalker since Jesse Lingard. So, yeah, folks out here saying Tchouaméni. Yeah, I did the bait again, didn't I? I did the bait again, didn't I, on Tchouaméni? A couple years. Here's the funny part, all right? I just want to talk quickly about Tchouaméni, okay? Here's just the funny thing I want to talk about, okay? Seconds, my dude, sorry. I want to talk to you about this Tchouaméni thing because it's kind of funny to me. A couple years ago, I tweeted that's the train. Hang on, I'm gonna pull it up on screen. Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up on screen because it really does make me laugh. People got really mad when I did that a couple years ago, and so I always do it again, once in a while whenever there's a reason for it. Because it's just funny. It's just funny. Here, I'll show you. So those of you who remember August 10th, 2023, here we go. August 10, 2023, I posted that. Now, obviously, here we're looking at Chouameni, reposting the Brian Mbumo thing. Now, in case you don't know this, by the way, Chouameni has the same agent as Brian Mbumo. He knows him. They know each other. They're friends.
Come on, guys, smash the like button.
Oh yes, please do hit the like button. They are friends. They know each other as well. If I'm not mistaken, they played together. What did they say? They were teammates for the French under-20s back in the day as well. So they are friends and former teammates, and they have the same agent. So yeah, there you go. All right. Just in case you didn't know and you want to read into that more, that's the truth of it. Now, at the same time, 2 years ago, there genuinely was a very, very small chance of Aurelien Tchouameni. Obviously we actually tried to sign him like 3 years ago, but there was a small chance of Tchouameni a couple years ago. There's been times in his stint at Madrid where he's been on the cusp of leaving, where maybe not on the cusp, but like where it's been considered that maybe he's not the guy, that he might actually leave. And there was actually a genuine chance when I said that a couple years ago that he could leave, and that it had been discussed with a few people. It's a few clubs. Even in the lead up to this summer, it was this or last, it had been discussed whether he would leave at certain points. And then, there's been changes in managers and things like that.
Locomotive emoji, eyes emoji.
There you go. And there was the consideration of offers maybe between him and Chelsea, Liverpool, United as well. But at the moment, obviously, I'm just teasing. So I do apologize for that because I can't help myself sometimes, you know what I mean? I just can't. It's always a good time. It always bother people. The other name that I did want to discuss here is, when we looked at that, Ruben Amorim prefers to sign a striker with Premier League experience. I'm looking at this man right here. Jamie Vardy, that's the guy. Bring him in. Premier League experience. Can't get much better than that. No, sorry. Oh my God. Jamie Vardy he's a free agent. You're gonna unsubscribe. No, stop it. All right, I'm sorry. We'll get to it. All right, let's start. We're gonna talk about strikers first, and then we are going to talk about strikers first, and then we are going to talk about Lammens, and then we'll talk about the tour. Okay, so let's first look into the deal sheet from David Ornstein. Okay. There's the FedEx truck, man. Guy's blasting. So, attention turns to strengthening the squad further. The main positions are attack, defensive midfield, and goalkeeper. We know that that's what we're looking for at this point in time. The center back situation was where we probably push that off till next summer. It's not necessarily in an order because our window is now pretty dependent on sales, on outgoings, on things like that, and what happens in the market, what kind of offers are there. And United are going to be flexible in the market. Wrong button. So, yeah, obviously, those are the main areas that United still want to strengthen, that we still intend to strengthen. So we'll talk about Lammens here in a second. We'll talk about Emmy in a minute, and we'll talk about the defensive midfield as well a little bit. But obviously, we'll start with striker. So this was understood to be before the final bid for Mbumo went through and was accepted. That United, remember I said on that week, on that Monday, Tuesday, are we pivoting? Is this it? Is this the pivot? Are we pivoting? I said this is the week we're gonna either have to get Mbumo done or we're gonna pivot to a striker.
Danny Welbeck. New moon with face
I would
emoji.
actually,
New moon with face emoji.
I would take Danny Welbeck, but I would only take Danny Welbeck if we can also get another striker too, because I really like to. So remember, last week I was saying at the start of the week, it's time to pivot. You know, it's time. They're pivoting. They're looking at other strikers. This might be the pivot. This might be the pivot. And they did, to be fair, but they didn't walk away from Mbumo, and then they put the big bid in and got it done. But I found this interesting. Here's what's interesting to me. What this tells me that we both asked again about Victor Gyökeres. Remember how many people kept telling me that our interest in Gyökeres was fake and that I made it all up? This is the first time that Ornstein's maybe officially acknowledged it. This is the first time that it's been acknowledged officially. We've been interested in Victor Gyökeres. It's not like this is the first time we've asked about him. But anyway, we tried. He still made it clear he wanted to go to Arsenal. I did tweet something about that the other day. Oh my gosh, 1 second, got a phone call. Okay. Well, it wasn't nonsense, and he didn't say it was nonsense. What he said was we were pursuing number 10s, which is the correct thing. We were pursuing Mbumo, but we obviously had strikers in the back pocket. He said we weren't even looking at strikers. Obviously, we're looking at strikers. At that time, it was accurate, you know what I mean? But it isn't anymore. We're looking at strikers. We've been looking at strikers. So what this was interesting to me, though. If I read these two paragraphs, I'll tell you what it says to me. United tried to enter the race for Ekitike and Gyökeres. Now, both Ekitike and Gyökeres are fairly expensive. Benjamin Šeško, Ollie Watkins, and Nicholas Jackson are names that feature on...
How funny would it be to go after Wissa as well?
I know. I would love that. But there's no way we can do a deal with Brentford after they dicked around so much, right? There's just no chance anymore. But yes, talks have taken place about that trio, which is normal. However, they're not actively being pursued due to the costs, okay? That can change as the window progresses, especially if the price comes down. However, United are placing greater emphasis on alternatives. So I'm looking at that and I'm saying, one, obviously that would indicate we rated these guys higher than these three. That makes sense? For whatever reason. Now, I cast a slight shadow of concern on the planning because these are completely different players. Ekitike and Gyökeres, like I've said from the start, the interest is genuine, but they're very different players. Maybe the view is, and I concede on this if I'm wrong on these things, because I'm not always right, that's for sure. But I would concede maybe the view is that Ekitike could be the right guy. They could turn him into the right guy, and that was their view on it. Maybe, don't know, but they're very different, and so I have some concerns around that. Because that doesn't seem like proper planning to me to have that. Whereas I look at Ollie Watkins and Nicholas Jackson, and they're much more in line with Victor Gyökeres. So, yeah, that's where I'm a little, where I've always been a bit confused by that aspect of it, because a lot of Delap, Gyökeres, Watkins, Jackson, they can bring you a lot of the same things. Ekitike brings something very, very different. So maybe the view was he's just really good. Well, Liverpool paid a lot of money. We'll see how it works out. I have my doubts, but that's all. But then, here's where it's interesting. So look, I read this, not actively being pursued due to the costs. Of course, we can't afford them right now. We have to sell in order to pay the prices that would be available, not actively pursued. That means we're not in talks, we're not negotiating, we're not working on it today to try to make a deal done. But it also says that can change as the window progresses, especially if their prices come down. Now, I have a strong feeling, of course, that that's, even though it says here United are placing a greater emphasis on alternatives, the question is who? Who are the alternatives that are cheaper that we can afford? One possibility for that alternative is Moise Kean. He is a genuine name on the list. He is someone that they've looked at. Apparently, his release clause is 50 million euros, so that's like, what, 42 million pounds. If you could get it even a little lower than that, then maybe. Kolo Muani, someone that they've looked at in the past. Keane's clause is gone, actually. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? It's expired. So you'd still be negotiating, but maybe you think you can get him cheaper. Kolo Muani, because they've liked him in the past. Maybe you could get him on a loan. Should no other club get a deal done for him, maybe you could get him on a loan, potentially. So those are two other names. Then you go really far down the list. Like then you go really far down the list, and then you're talking like Gonzalo Ramos. You're talking Calvert-Lewin. You're talking Jamie Vardy. You're talking things like that, right? Those are like where you start going way down the list. In terms of other alternatives, like I say, Keane, Kolo Muani, Mateta, but I'm not sure he's going to be any cheaper either than the prices that are linked all above. Evan Nilsson, I don't think he's going to be cheaper than any of those players above. We looked at Evan Nilsson when he was at in Portugal. So we've been watching for a while. I don't know that he's going to be cheaper either. I don't think Bournemouth are in any need to sell at this point in time, and I doubt that he would be cheap. I haven't actually seen any links to him, but I doubt he would be affordable. So yeah, I'm looking at who would actually be potentially cheaper than some of these players, and I'm thinking, yeah, Evan Nilsson would be super expensive in my mind. I'm thinking Kolo Muani and all of that. Muniz I like as a player, but I doubt he'd be cheap too. I would imagine when you're talking the Premier League these days, I don't think you're getting any of those strikers for less. Anyone who's not old, right? Welbeck, okay? We could talk about Welbeck. Anyone who's not older like that, you're not getting for less than 50 million. You're just not. You're not getting them for less than 50. So it's not going to change much by way of that in terms of more affordable alternatives. Then you have the point that was said, which was, Premier League proven. Now, maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. I think there's some truth to it, but we are talking about two strikers right here who are not Premier League proven. So perhaps we do have alternatives there. Anyway, what this tells me, my personal read on the situation from what I've heard, is that the interest is that our plan A is to get one of these guys and the price comes down. Okay? That plan A would be to get one of these guys we're talking about here and the price comes down as we wait in the window. We'll get back to Jackson here in a minute. But I did want to say something else. Then obviously goalkeeper, yada, yada, all of that. But I did want to go all the way down because, again, I've said this before. I think people got way too hyped over Benjamin Šeško, and I want to read this for you. Several strikers, none are advanced, spending significantly, possibility remains open for Rasmus Højlund. Here's one. I want to read this paragraph, okay? With communication open this year, but he is not currently the subject of serious attention. The cost of signing Šeško due to the fee inevitably demanded by Leipzig, plus his wages, is deemed incompatible with United's budget and his performances in the Bundesliga last season. So if you read that line, it pretty strongly kills the idea of Šeško, for not just for the cost reasons, but because they're saying his performances weren't that good last season. So that's kind of the point. He's not that good. He's certainly not even 70, he's not 60 million good, he's not 70 million good, he's not 80 million good, he's on like pretty big wages and all of that. He's not that good. So essentially, if you actually read that, what they're saying is, you know, he's probably a 40 million pound player, and that's it. That's the truth of the matter. That that he would be a lot cheaper, because again, it's not just the wages like that's a trifecta here from Laurie, saying the cost the cost plus the wages and his performances in the Bundesliga, basically saying the fee and the wages are not equitable to how good he is. And that's the concern. That's been the concern with him in general. So, yeah, I strongly kind of think that could obviously rule Šeško. I would say if you just take that at face value, that pretty much rules Šeško out of the list of players that are listed there. But yeah, look, held talks were held last summer. Communications open, but he's not currently subject of serious attention. So there was no comment here on Watkins. Obviously, Watkins was Laurie's story at first, so I think he's decently clued in on that. Then I want to talk about Nicholas Jackson. It's time, my friends. It's time to speak about the man, the myth, the legend, Nicholas Jackson. This comes from Fabrizio, okay? Not somebody else, Fabrizio. And he says his situation at Chelsea remains open. He's not out of the project or guaranteed, but there's a strong chance to leave. Sources reveal that in recent days, Manchester United have been approached with the opportunity to proceed and start talks for Nicholas Jackson. He's been offered one of the chances for United to add a new striker as the next main priority for Ruben after Mbeumo and Cunha, so Chelsea have opened the doors. According to sources close to the negotiations, Chelsea maintain an interest in Alejandro Garnacho as an option in case United want to open a proper negotiation for Nicholas Jackson. The message has been received at Carrington as United are aware of Chelsea's potential interest in Garnacho. They're open to discussing conditions of a swap deal involving Nicholas Jackson. So at this stage, we're not proceeding because we're still assessing the main candidates, still thinking about it initially. Šeško, Jackson, Watkins, other options, things like that. He's open, blah, blah, blah. No decision has been made as of yet, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Point being, I've been talking about this for probably 10, 12 days at this point in time. I don't think much about the valuation of Nicholas Jackson in any sort of respect. Because I don't think that it's... look, the reality of it is that he didn't play in the Club World Cup final. There's obviously a good chance for him to leave. He's on a mega long contract because that's how Chelsea do things. So they're going to say his valuation is through the roof. But it's pretty obvious what's going on here, which is, as I've been saying for almost 2 weeks now. We're going to be offered Jackson by Chelsea because they want Garnacho, and we have to consider it because we have to consider it because it's an opportunity where we say, what's our valuation of Alejandro Garnacho? Do they want it? What's the valuation of Nicholas Jackson? Does he want it? And that a deal is open there. That if Chelsea are saying they want Garnacho, then the expectation is we could get him for a better price on this whole thing and do business. So that's essentially the point being, if they want Garnacho, they're going to want to shed players. And this is a player that they want to move on. This is a player United have interest in. This is a player United have looked at. And obviously the fact that it's genuinely being offered to us from according to Fabrizio, he's very, very good sources at Chelsea, by the way.
Doesn't the PL proven statement worsen your negotiating power? Villa now knows that his is our only viable option and won't lower the price.
I mean, it's a report, but it's a report. It's just a report. So, yeah, I mean, this is the reality of that situation. It's obvious that they want to do a deal here. It's obvious that they want to do a deal here. That Chelsea want us to do a deal here. with Garnacho. That's what they're open to. They've got other options, but it's obviously one of the names that they're looking at. I don't think just I don't again, I've said before, I quite like Nicholas Jackson. I think he would be an improvement. He's not my top choice, but I would consider it. So I would personally consider it. So it's just a thought. It's just something we have to think about. We have to consider. The other one is obviously Watkins. He's named by Ornstein. He's named by Laurie. He's named by everybody. Is Ollie Watkins? He's named. He's named by you know everyone as an option. I think it's a better option, but I also understand the cost factor on this. Um, he's 29 to near 30, and you don't want to pay 60 million for him, right?
Why not sign Darwin as well and see who can injure more fans behind the net while being 30 yards off target?
Uh, yeah, why not? Why not? No, there's a difference. Darwin has shot power, Jackson doesn't. So Jackson won't be hurting anybody. But no, look, the PL proven thing as well. Like, I don't think it's just a report. It's just a report. It's just a report. I wouldn't think too much on it. Everybody kind of is gonna know who we want. I think too much of the public stuff is in there. Chelsea has burned us with Mount. I don't want us to go. Yeah, but I think this idea of like not buying Chelsea players is like, I don't know why not. I mean, look at all the players that have come through Chelsea. It's like half of Europe at this point in time. Like, I get there's some I wouldn't buy, but I'll tell you what's funny. A year ago, maybe it was 2 years ago, when we were talking about Cucurella and there was potential that we might sign Cucurella, people were losing their fucking mind over it. And then you look at him today, and he's actually one of the better left backs in the league. Like, I just think I think people have a very, very strange opinion of Chelsea. I think people have a strange opinion of Chelsea in general. There's a lot of players that have come. I mean, just because of what happened with Mount. But, you know, when you look at Mason Mount, yeah, I didn't want Cucurella too, exactly. I change my opinions when new information comes out. That's what happens. And that's what I think people get stuck on. Like, people will decide, don't buy from Chelsea because Mount didn't work. Just be open to things. Like, even if you suggest Ugo Chuku, right, in here, people probably accept it because a lot of people like him here. There's a lot of people, you go suggest him online, like I saw Academy Scoop suggest him, and you read in the replies. A lot of people hate the idea because they instantly go, he's a Chelsea cast-off and he played for a relegated team, so we shouldn't get him. Like, I just don't, it is what it is. The Mount thing is whatever. It's his injuries, we knew he was injured. We blew it. We blew it. Anyway, I just think that, like, I get the concerns on Nicholas Jackson, but I also think, personally, that a lot of people are stuck on their view of Jackson from a couple years ago and didn't really watch him much last year. That's what I think. I think a lot of people are stuck on things that like you see the red card thing, and you see that in the back half of the season he had an injury and he got a red, and that's people's judgment of him as a player at this point in time. But if you watch most of the rest of the season, he was really, really good. He was actually very, very good. You saw red cards. You know who else got red cards? You know who else got 2 red cards this year and punched a guy? You know who else did that? The guy we paid 62.5 million for in Cunha. And I brought up those same concerns in the beginning, and then I got over it because shit happens. We literally signed Cunha, who has 2 red cards and punched someone this season. And I got over that because I looked at it and I said, I had concerns on that back in February. And then I looked into it and then I thought about it. And then I was like, that's okay. You know what? I'm good. I like it. I like him. So the red card argument to me is shit. I don't like the red card argument because we've gotten over that. People are hyped, have been hyped on Cunha. So we've dealt with that. I don't think Bruno got 2 reds this season. Yeah, Bruno got 2 reds this season. So I think that part's a bad argument. When you talk about the player himself, if you watch like the first 6 months of the season, he was actually really, really good. And I think people are stuck on evaluations. If you go back to me and find my tweets from 2 years ago, I did not like Nicholas Jackson. I did not rate him. I didn't at all. I thought he was terrible. Actually, Bruno got 3 red cards, didn't he? One was BS, but he got 3 red cards over the season. And then over the course of this season, I actually became really impressed for Nicholas Jackson. Obviously, I don't think he's worth 100 million. But if you were to ask me today, look, here's the reality, right? We need to sell to buy, correct? We need to sell to buy. We very likely need to sell. He got one in Tottenham, which was BS. He got one in Porto for a second yellow, right? And then he got one against Newcastle as well. So that was 3, though one was BS. So, yeah. I don't think he's worth that. But I look at it and I say it's a sell to buy situation that we are in at the striker position.
Watkins too old and expensive. I like him up top with our new 10s a lot.
Yeah, he's still my favorite option of it, right? We're sell to buy. If moving Garnacho on, which again is the whole point of this scenario that we have to understand here, just really, really important to understand. We have to sell to buy, and the Garnacho situation is a huge part of this. If that's our only route to move Garnacho, then it may be our only route to get a striker. So the question becomes, in that potential scenario, hold on, I'm going to poll it. A Jackson Garna swap, cash both ways, or nothing, or like DCL, or like Ramos, or loan some stopgap. All right. Then this becomes a question that I'm curious about. Bearing in mind, like, swap, yeah. Yeah. Stopgap is better for what, though? For who? Who do we get later that's like a top option? It's just a discussion. Like, who are we getting next time? And why couldn't we get them anyway in the future? Oh, I'm just giving these as if these were the only 2 scenarios. I'm just saying if these were the only 2 scenarios. Obviously they're not. That's why I was just curious to poll that. Point being, though, you're still talking about a player who, you get a big PSR benefit by selling Garnacho to move for him. So you can still buy another striker next year. That's the positive to it as well. That's what I think about it. The financial gains that we can make would give us the ability to do another striker again next year if we need it. And in the meantime, I'd rather take a 10 to 13 million pound asset, a 10 to 13 goal player versus not having one at all.
This summer. I don't want them paying a big fee for a striker just to get one. The midfield is a much larger concern, though I know you likely disagree there.
Yeah, I mean, I get you on that, on not paying a huge fee for a striker, but I will say this. This is how I see it, okay? Um, this is how I see it. We are not getting Europe without improving on goals. If Højlund is starting the season, we ain't getting anywhere close to Champions League, my guys. Like, we need to accept reality. You guys saw that preseason game. Højlund is who he is. There's no remontada. He's not going to be any better. Maybe Xerxes will be. We'll see. But he's not a proven goal scorer either. He's a facilitator, and I hope he does a lot
I
better.
think getting rid of Garner is the key. Can't have him round next
I
season.
totally agree as well. I think it's important. Jackson adding 10 to 13 goals will help us get into Europe. And that is worth so much money. That's how I view it. That's how I view it. That's the way that I see it. We're not getting close to Champions League with Jackson, but Jackson just played for a team that got Champions League. So maybe we would. Maybe we would. I mean, he's literally just played for a team that got into Europe 2 years in a row as their starting striker, just by the way. So clearly he can. He will create chances for others and he will score. Right price. Yeah, I mean, I would agree. The right price is important. And they just won a European Cup, and so did Nkunku. No, not really. I mean, not really. I mean, Nkunku had 3 goals for them in the league last season. Jackson had 10 goals for them in the league last season. So I can certainly say who was more influential into their result. But yeah, look, it's just an option. It's just an option. It's just something to think about. I wouldn't write it off. I wouldn't write it off. I think he would make us better. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm not even trying to sell him. It's just I definitely think he would make us better. I think Jackson would make us better. He would make us better. He would work well with Cunha and Mbeumo, and he would make us better. So I would take that. I definitely would make us better. And again, I'm talking deal that works for both parties. Obviously, I'm not saying United should be paying 80 million or some shit like that for him at all. Now, the number one choice from my perspective would be well, I'm saying the Jackson thing only happens with Garnacho going to Chelsea. The problem that we have here is that Garnacho wants Chelsea. You understand why I keep bringing this up? Garnacho wants Chelsea.
Villa are interested in Garner Watkins swap.
I don't know if they are at this point. We know they're kind of interested in Garnacho, but we don't know if that will help us get Watkins. We can talk about that in a second. But the problem is that Garnacho wants Chelsea. He's turning down moves to other clubs in Europe. He wants to stay in England, but Chelsea is definitely at the top of his list. So as long as Chelsea is there, I think we're stuck. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to buy him without giving us somebody. They're not going to. It's not happening. You got to live in the real world. We need to live in the real world here. Chelsea have bought like 5 forwards in lieu of Garnacho. They're not going to buy him without selling somebody significant in a deal like this in the forward line, because they're going to be trying to make space in the forward line to add a new player into the forward line. So we just have to live in the real world on what's happening on this.
Just this summer Chelsea have beaten us to our top striker option, tried to take Muemo at the last option, and now rate the striker pushed to the bench by Delap way higher than they paid for Delap.
I don't totally understand Chelsea's thinking, but I said before, I don't actually think they're smart. People have been hyping them up a lot, but like I said, they've paid $1 billion to get top 4. That is not an accomplishment. I think pushing Delap up and pushing Jackson out is beyond stupid. I think Jackson is significantly better than Liam Delap and will be better for them. But they keep doing this thing of like 2 years profit. They're recycling players so quickly because it keeps allowing them to spend more because they're getting PSR gains. I think it's stupid because eventually when are they settling on a player to keep working with? They've spent $1 billion net. $1 billion net. Saying it's working is crazy. They have the worst results per dollar spent of anyone in the entire Premier League. You realize that? Worse than us. We got better results per money spent under the Glazers with Woodward than they have gotten so far. The hype on Chelsea is crazy to me. I'm baffled by it, genuinely baffled by it, because it's like I went on this rant last week. They've done nothing. They've accomplished nothing.
Ghana can ride the bench on those small wages. Shouldn't sign Jackson cause of that.
Fair. I understand that opinion. It's gonna read the next one out. I'd rather keep Joshua.
Joshua with Obi as strikers and spend big on midfield. The ball has to go through midfield to reach the strikers.
I don't agree. Like Cheeto got 5 shots the other day, by the way. They got 5 shots the other day. Højlund got 1. The first half midfield was worse than the second half, but Cheeto got more shots. Like, it's just an example. It's just an example. Whenever Cheeto plays, he gets chances regardless of the midfield. Good forwards get chances. We need a striker. Really, really bad. They still have more titles than us in the last decade. Not under Bowley and co. I'm talking about this new management thing. They won more. That's my point. They were winning more under the previous ownership. They were winning more under the previous ownership. They still spent, but they were doing nothing like this. It wasn't like this. They've accomplished less while spending more. Yeah, they won 2 bottom tier trophies that are practically fake. Like, it is what it is. So they were doing the same thing. They were spending a lot less money. I'd only take him on a loan with option plus a Vardy 1 year. Sure, that's not going to happen. But sure. Look, I get different opinions. Like I said, I knew Jackson was going to split opinion mightily when I brought him up in the first place, and people are going to argue about it all the time.
Here to ask about my daily Lacey update. So confusing. He looked good in Asia. Was training with squad recently. 5 keepers over him. Maybe he's injured.
I don't know. I mean, from what I haven't actually heard anything to confirm he's injured. Just he's young, man. I think people got to give Lacey time. Give him a season. He barely had just moved up to the under 18s. Had he even moved up to the under 18s? I think he had just barely moved up to the under 18s. Give him a little bit of time. Give him the season. I think it'll be next season.
If we could sign Bale, but give me Xerxes 9.
Yeah, sure. But we're not gonna. So we're not gonna. But look, anyway, like I said, I knew that it was going to split opinion massively, the whole Jackson situation. It's just an option. It's just an option. It's just something we have to consider about. In addition to that, I would say, obviously there's the Watkins one. Ollie Watkins is my preferred option of all of the people on the list, of the main names on that list by far and away. However, when you talk about Ollie Watkins with his price, I get they don't want to pay $60 million for a 29 going on 30-year-old. If we could get that price down to the 40 to 50 million range, then I think they would strongly consider it. I hope that is the eventual option that we land on, because I think it's the best choice. Having him play for a few years, he's the best player of the ones that we're linked with. He can play for a few years. He can develop. The players underneath him can develop. Cheeto, Enzo, and then we can see where we go from there. So I think that's the best option by far. And again, if there's a deal to be made with Garnacho there, then that's what matters. So, but look, the reality is that these things are under consideration. And when you look at all of the reports and all of the information, we're offered a situation where potentially we could get, um, you know, uh, where there might be a swap that has to do with Garnacho and Jackson. There might be a swap that has to do with Garnacho and Watkins. Um, Now, yeah, saw that question a few times. Do we actually have the money, or we really sell to buy? Again, that was before we bought Mbumo, and before a final bid from Mbumo. That was the potential pivot where we say, hey, we'll go buy a striker, and then we'll come back, to it. Now we don't have the money. We bought Mbumo. We don't have the money. So Mateta, if he comes back into the frame, if Watkins' price comes down, if the Jackson deal is there. But again, our biggest look, we're not getting a pay. We saved money. We've saved money on Rashford, but we're not getting money. Our biggest source of potential revenue is still this Garnacho sale. And I think that people are not understanding that that is a serious possibility, that we have to make a deal that gets Garnacho out the door to do anything at striker, and we might consider it. There's also the factor that a lot of people actually do quite like Nicholas Jackson. But anyway, we just have to think about that. That's all. It's just something we have to think about, that it is possible. Someone wanted me to compare a bunch of strikers. I'm just going to put them up here, and then we'll talk about Lammens. This Jackson is in blue. So you can see Jackson and Watkins are the most similar. Watkins is better finishing. Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy. Moise Keane, really good stats last season, actually, in general. Vlahovic, pretty narrow, lot of touches, low conversion rate, low finishing rate, not great on the goals. I actually quite understand why Moise Keane would be an option. The risk with him is that he's only done it one season, but he actually did have quite a good season last year. And the more I looked into that, the more I was like, I wouldn't say no. I think it's a risk, and I would like to, I'd like to get one. If we were to get him, I would hope it would be cheaper, so it's a lower risk. But he had a really good season. After I looked into Keane and I saw the stats were better, I spoke to some people, I watched some things, and I thought, it's actually pretty good. It's actually had a pretty good season, Moise Keane.
If Rasmus gets
and I get why they like him.
They would need to bring in two strikers, or will Zerski cover in that
scenario? No, we won't.
Scenario?
Because of Xerxes and Cheeto, we won't need to bring in two strikers, just one. Yeah, Moise Keane he's just interesting. It's just interesting. Carl Anka's big on Moise Keane. I understand why they like him. I actually do understand why they like him. Then you look at Gonzalo Ramos. He is like he comes on, he has the least minutes, by the way, if you notice, so you do have to consider his stats differently. He comes in, wins 0 duels, gets in the box, wins in the air, and scores goals in his sub minutes. That's what Ramos does, and he's very good at it. Not necessarily the right fit for us, but you throw him on at games where you're going to control possession and be camped around the box, and he will get crazy amounts of goals. He will score a lot of goals. So he has a use, but I wouldn't say he's the ideal player for us. Yeah, he's like a really good box striker. He's just a really good, like, sit in the box and win some things and score. That's what he does really well at. So, yeah. All right. Then that's on striker. So look, I just think people have to think about the possibility. Does Kolomwani show up on here? He does, actually. He had quite a good season. I'll remove some people so you guys can see it. Top conversion rate. Didn't get a ton of chances, but yeah, anyway. Yeah. He actually did pretty well. Not great in the air. Like I said, I see Kolomwani as more of a winger.
What about
than I do
from Rennes?
I see him as more a winger than I do as a striker, to be quite honest. Like, I see him as more of a pseudo winger like Rashford playing at striker, maybe even less of a striker than Rashford. When I've watched Kolomwani, that's my take on him, is that I see him as more of a winger, somewhat shoehorned as a striker than I do a striker, in my opinion. But he's a decent player. I'm not like fully opposed to it. What about Calamundo? I've never watched him in my life, so I can't tell you anything beyond the stats. Horrendous in the air. That doesn't look good to me.
They
Well, I
shouldn't
don't want to
sign
put on a
anyone
bunch
from
of
Italy
random
or
names.
Germany.
Kolomwani's like Isak 23-24. Maybe. I do like Kolomwani. He had a good season too. Juventus shouldn't sign anyone from Italy or Germany. Why not Italy? I get that like we have
With
players that
French
go there and
teams
look really well,
struggling
but
financially, why aren't we exploiting this? Especially with Ineos' knowledge of market. Kamara at Monaco levels up midfield.
does he? You know what's I looked
Walt
into
made.
Kamara.
Seems like Bayern is falling through.
I have no idea, Thomas James. Like maybe if that falls through, but I don't know anything about that. Yeah, we don't really sign German players very often. But there was some reason, Matt, why when I looked into Kamara, I think what was it about him where I said maybe he's not the right guy. I read a whole like profile on him as well, and I thought just maybe he's just not the right guy. Maybe there's something that they like, um, that they just don't like him for some reason. We have to kind of trust him on that. I think he's too small or too slight in the duel is kind of part of it. Like gets shoved off a bit too easy, even in France. Small gets shoved off of it a bit too easy. It was something like that, where yeah, we kind of don't need that. We need someone very, very strong if they're gonna come in. I really still like Ugochukwu, but too small and too aggressive, right? So yeah, I mean it was funny. I was reading and I was like, these sound like a weaker version of Ugarte who's better on the ball. That's probably not what we need. So, anyway, that's on strikers. We're gonna have to be aware of the situation. We're gonna have to keep our mind up open on what could happen here. Um, we're just gonna have to, because it's wide open. On that front, there has been no decisions, and so many different things can happen. There. So just keep your mind open. That's all I'm saying. Keep your mind open. Keep your options open so that you don't get upset or disappointed by anything that might happen, because we really do need to be flexible, in all of this, okay? That's the reality. Um the next thing, which I think is pretty exciting, is of course uh, Lammens. We had an update from Sully today that he's open to moving, et cetera, as well. And another confirmation of a serious interest. Now we know, I think we spoke about him yesterday or something like that. I said I believe we will. Lammens is definitely the route of travel. I feel they're leaning from my perspective in terms of the keeper rather than going old versus young. Now maybe that's new. We talked about how there might be a potential that they offered some kind of loan on Emi Martinez, but nobody has really backed that up yet, so it's hard to say. But I think they're leaning towards the Lammens side of things, but it's also one where the decision hasn't been made, and they don't want to cut themselves down on the finances and things like that as well. But yeah, it's a good sign. It's a good sign. Lammens to me is the ideal choice. Plan A, if you've been watching the videos, you'll know I've been speaking about this all year. Plan A on the keeper was move by Indir, get competition for Onana, Lammens high on the list. Um, So I would be happy if we moved for our original plan because I think it was a good one. And I think that we need a top young keeper. I'm even less convinced of the idea of bringing in like Emi Martinez than we had before. Because I'm like, what does it do for us? It's a lot. It's a lot of wages, a lot of money. I could get it on loan, but buying him feels like a big mistake to me. Buying him feels like a mistake to me. But yeah, I hope we get that one done. I really do. I remember the other thing that I wanted to discuss afterwards. Just as more of a chat between us on things about about the tour. I'm quite excited about this. But yes, Lammens, I think we're leaning towards going for that younger keeper, but also it's just another thing that hasn't been decided. But yeah, it was good to see another person talking about Lammens today and the potential for that deal because that's one we've been following for a long time as well. United are going to, during the course of the tour, be evaluating some of the sales and things like that. They're going to it's not like they're not going to do business. It's not like they're not going to be working on things. It's not like they're not going to hold discussions and all of that. They will. And, but we really do need some sales to be pushed out the door. And this is why this Jackson, again, thing is being entertained at all, is because we need the sales, man. It's not been decided because of the finances. Like, it's not like and I want to make this very, very clear. Sometimes when you say things haven't been decided, you think that they're stuck in indecision and we're waiting on that. No, it's not been decided because there's still too many variables that have to be settled first financially. We've blown our budget. We've made some sales, but we need more, and we have blown our budget, and more even potentially than our original budget. So the variables of how we move players on and what needs to happen to move players on affect our decision. Okay? So if you, like, depending on how these sales work is going to affect what our next decision is in the market. Now, that's why. So it's not that they don't have a plan. They'll have a hierarchy of decision-making process here. But they will, it's dependent on what kind of offers and things come in over the next, I don't know, days, weeks, and months. And that's why, again, this Jackson thing has to be entertained, because they can't just say no and could not consider it at all when Jackson's a player they decently like. Because it may be one of the only routes we get a big sale. It's quite possible. Someone might hold us to selling Garnacho to where it's too late for us to get a player in, and then what does that do for us? Helps us in January and next summer, but we have to consider options that are on the table. And we're aware of Chelsea, they're aware of us. That might be the closest thing we have to an offer for Garnacho right now. If you actually think about it, we basically have an offer for Garnacho. It's do a deal with Jackson, who we don't have any other offers. As far as we know, we don't have any other offers at this point in time. So we can't just we hopefully, I think we're hoping to get more. That's why we haven't done it yet. That's why we haven't done it yet, because I think ideally we get different offers and we have other offers on the table. But that's genuinely why it hasn't been completely flatly turned down at this stage, is because, it maybe is the only offer we have. But yeah, that's the truth of it. So, we aren't in concrete talks. We do, though. Chelsea have made it clear. That's what Fabrizio's article literally says. They've offered us Jackson in a potential deal for Garnacho. Just because we haven't engaged in it doesn't mean we don't have an offer. We literally, in an extremely literal sense, have an offer from Chelsea to do a deal that has Jackson going one way and Garnacho going the other. We have it. It's an offer. They've told us they're willing to do it. That's an offer. The specifics of it we're not engaging with at this point. That doesn't mean it, it can't happen. Doesn't mean it isn't an offer. It just means, maybe it's not like a bid. It's not a specific bid. It's an offer to do a deal. But yeah, let's move on from it and talk about a couple things. Would you do it? I wouldn't do it immediately because I would rather we get Watkins. I would rather see if there's another way to sell Garnacho and get Watkins. But I would absolutely do it in lieu of not getting anyone. 100%, I would rather do it instead of not getting anyone, because I think it will be a disaster if we don't get a striker. And I think that it's going to be really, really hard for people to see exactly just how much it affects us. I've watched Ruben Amorim for a long time. And I could tell you, man, the striker is so fundamental to so much of what he does. I was watching a video last night. You guys might know this guy. I'm sure a lot of you actually do. Shit, what was his name? Scarlet something. Anyway, he does he's a United thing. I've actually never heard of him. He's got more subs and such than I do, but I've never heard of him before. But he does analysis and things like that, tactics and stuff. Scarlet Report, that's the one. Yeah, somebody posted that video in the Discord last night. I really liked his video. It was one of the few tactical videos that I've watched from United creators where I felt like they actually understood some of the reasons why Amorim does certain things instead of just outright saying it's wrong and then looking for reasons why it's wrong. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, and I really liked his video. And there were some really interesting things that it was talking about in terms of how we were playing, why, what options it opened up. And when I looked at it, I said, one of the things I looked at in there was that in one of the circumstances he highlighted, one of the things that I'm aware of is just how much the striker, because he was highlighting at one point the build up, the inverted center backs, how Mentato came deep as a 10, which I've said a million times is the thing you need in an Amorim system for this to work. And he highlighted how that happened, and then all of that kind of stuff, right? And I thought that was really good in highlighting. One of the things that I've gone on a tangent, but it's fine. We're basically in Yap territory here as well. But it is why striker is so important, and especially why their movement is so important. I'm just going to pull this up and show you guys because it's a lot easier than me trying to describe it. I won't even put all the players on because I want to show exactly kind of the point. One of the things he showed is that when they do the thing with the midfield and let's put Maguire in here, just so I can show this. England scored, very nice. Just so I can show this. Yes, exactly that. Okay, exactly that. So one of the things that I wanted to show here is he was talking about this inverted CC center back thing. And he was talking about, he was showing how the pass came in from the center back to the 10. And that's what you want. That's what you want in the system. Now, someone asked, well, yeah, but the center back followed and was extremely tight to the 10. Well, that means that their wing back or full back is pushed up on ours, that their center back is pushed up on the 10 when the 10 goes like this. So one of the whole points to the Amorim system and the build-up and the way that it runs is that if the center back doesn't follow the 10, they drop in here, these guys are covered, the pass comes right through to the 10. If the center back is covered, if the 10 is covered, the striker needs to run behind it because the center back follows them. The striker needs to run behind it and make a huge run here, so you offer the option to send that ball in through the channel. That's Amorim's pressure valve. If the press goes man-to-man and gets really tight, which United struggle with a lot, the whole point is that the striker runs in behind the center backs, vacating that space, to get you out of the man-to-man press. Going long is a valid tactic to man-to-man pressing. Everybody does it. It's how you beat Liverpool. When they go man-to-man, you can go long on them. There's nothing wrong with going long. It's an option. The problem we have right now is that the striker doesn't even move. He stands still, sitting on a center back. When this center back runs up, when this center back comes up and follows the 10, the striker doesn't move. He just stands here. So there's nobody attacking the space, and there's nobody to launch the ball into there. Our build-up will struggle if our striker doesn't do that. And it happens in both directions. Whichever the ball side is going to, they need to be making that run constantly. Constantly making that run. That's to me the most important thing. If we don't have a striker who does that, then we will fail. Because otherwise, everybody can sit us down and beat us in the press incredibly easily. It's one of the extra options that forces teams to think. When your striker has elite movement and is running back and forth like this, it makes the center back take time. It makes the center back take time to think about it. And consider, do I follow or do I wait because the striker's going to run in behind? And it gives you more ways of beating a press. It's all about having options to beat how you beat the press. Anytime an option is eliminated, it's going to make it easier to lose. The other big factor is the 10s dropping in. Last season, Garnacho never dropped in. He just kept running forward. And he's not the sole reason, because last season, he didn't move right. Garnacho sit running forward, never dropped deep, never did anything. And that doesn't work either. The 10s dropping in is vital. If the 10s are always running, then that doesn't go anywhere. The next thing, chat of mine, I'm going back to is the center backs. Center backs have to be able to pass extremely well for this to work. When you have center backs that cannot pass extremely well, that also screws you over. And the next reason as well, is that the wing back has to be willing to stay high and run past this dropping 10 so that you have someone following them and it opens up the space to do that. Those are all things that have to happen. Dalot drops too deep, too quickly. Our buildup is always better with Ahmad for that reason. Our buildup is always better with better center backs for a reason. Our buildup is better when you have Xerxes playing in one of the 10s or the striker, because he does a lot of stuff right. Even when Garnacho was in and Xerxes was there, what it meant is that Xerxes would drop in as a 10 and Garnacho could be the outlet, where he was actually not that bad. So there's a lot of ways to solve this. And the problem was we had almost everything wrong with it last season. But if you look at our best build-up moments during that game for against Leeds, it doesn't really involve the midfield progressing the ball from these positions. It involves the 10s becoming midfielders and progressing the ball. That's the biggest part of it. So there was 4 things I would say. One is the striker movement has to be exceptional. You also have to be able to receive the ball in this position when the 10s drop in and give space. The second thing is the wingback can't drop too deep too quickly and be next to the center back when the center back is not under pressure. That doesn't give you a passing angle. And then, those are the main things. The striker movement, the 10s dropping, and the wingback needs to be going higher. None of that was happening last season. We will definitely need to do that better this year to fit the system. And hopefully, that is what gets worked on over preseason. But there are people who understand it. And I get people's concerns, but the fact of the matter is every top manager with a top system, similarly to Pep, for example, Pep requires really exact profiles to play his way, and it falls apart without them. But those systems tend to have the highest ceilings, and that's what we need. that's the manager we've hired, so we have to do that. So there's a lot of things. So there's a lot of things to improve, but having tens that drop instead of just run, having a 9 who actually runs the right routes, having a wing back who actually stays up and gets up and down quicker. Dallo did it better, but not great still. And then those are the main things. And center backs who can pass the ball. That I think will be a lot better this season than we've had. But that's why I'm so hot on the collar about getting a striker in. We've got to get somebody who does that movement, And I'll just give you some examples, okay? Because we saw it. We signed one player in Patrick Dorgu who did the right moves on the left side, and you could see how much he helped our build-up and helped our progression because he actually did the right movements. That single player helped our build-up and our progression quite a lot by getting one player who fit. You could see that when Xerxes comes into the team as a 10 and drops in a lot, also helped our progression as well. But the one thing that we've never solved is the striker. It's been bad the whole time. So you can see when we make those adjustments by getting a better wing back, by playing a better 10 in the 10s for the system improves. We've never solved the striker thing, so we have to. But yeah. We had Shaw in the last when no, again, I'm not going to have the argument forever, but judging a manager's ability to implement a system when he got one player off of 20 million joining mid-season is to me crazy. It's to me very, very crazy to judge based on that. But yeah, there's people who get it, and you'll see. We'll see. You will see. Lastly, just wanted to discuss obviously the names that are going on the tour. These are the 5 I'm most interested in. 2 young players, 3 established players, obviously the new signings, and Xerxes. It has nothing to do with him not being adaptable. He adapted at Portugal. He's not going to adapt to bad players that he's not going to use. Like, that's not the point. Why adapt? Asking him to adapt in the first season is really, really silly. This is like, again, people can't get their minds made up. You want a manager to come in and implement a system, and then you want him to panic and use the players that you don't want to use and change within one season. Pep adapts season by season, not immediately. And he had the players to do it. He adapts to the changes in the league and the things that happen there. He needs to get a chance to put the system in and get his team and get his players in. And then he can start to innovate and adapt on it as well. But these are the players that I liked. I like in general that I'm excited about. And Bumo and Cunha, Xerxes, I'm holding out on hope, even though I really want a striker. I'm really holding out on hope that Xerxes can be successful. I think he can be really, really successful. I really hope he can. I think I something about Xerxes just, I don't know, man. I just really, really like Xerxes. Mantato and Kone are the 2 youngest players that I think on this trip who have the best chance in terms of their traits and things like that of making it in the first team. Maybe not now, but eventually. Yeah. And then we did also see that big Harry Maguire will be joining up. He'll be flying out tomorrow, just a day late, and all of that. And that is good. That is good, because then people can't get confused when they say our buildup sucks, and then they put Delict in the team. It needs Maguire. That is the funniest part of the whole thing. People will criticize the buildup, and then they'll put Delict in the team, and I go, you don't get it, do you? But anyway, it's all good. It's all good. It is all good. I'm quite excited to see Leon as well, for sure. I'm quite excited to see Leon as well and see how he does. But we're gonna leave it there. We're gonna leave it there. That's it for today. Um, we're gonna leave it there. I appreciate you all. If you can like the video, the stream on the way out, that would be great. Tomorrow, I'll be live again for something during the afternoon. And then on the way out, on Thursday, I will be flying in the morning. I will do a mobile live. I don't know exactly what time. I'll get downtown. I got to drop my stuff off at the hotel. And then I want to get to Soldier Field and do some video or something. So we'll probably have a video. We'll probably have a live. Maybe like 3 o'clock, maybe like 10 p.m. UK and all of that. Yeah, there's nothing to talk about on the midfield because we don't know any names yet. Nobody does at this point in time, so we'll have to wait and see. So anyway, yeah. So on Thursday a little different, and then Friday we'll get some other stuff. I'm not going to Atlanta, unfortunately. I could make it to 2 legs of this tour, and it was New York and Chicago. But all right, guys, I'll see you all.